Hiya! Welcome! It's Records Roundup number 27 today, and I think this should be a fairly prompt one really. I've got 5 records to show you, some mail to open at the end, but there's no coloured vinyl to get open or anything, all this is standard black. But I've got some interesting albums, some essential additions to collections to show you today. So before we get started with all that, please have a look at the description text box where you will of course see my Patreon link, where you can help support this channel from as little as $1 a month. There's also my Facebook group, and some referral links for the likes of HMV and Urban Jungle Contents Insurance. Right, with that being said, let me start Records Roundup number 27 with a couple of pickups from W.H. Smith and 2 more for a certain collection, the Pink Floyd collection. I don't know why I'm going to leave it hanging there like a big surprise, but the first one I'll show you is an album that I was intending to get this at some point. I think I've sort of moved it up a bit in the Pink Floyd wants list simply because it was one of the better priced ones at W.H. Smith's website. And I'm talking about the compilation album Relics. So I think this originally came out in 1971. The date's on screen. I always start worrying about the dates in my head and then I realise I've put the information up anyway. This of course is part of the remaster series that when all Pink Floyd albums and 1 or 2 compilations such as this got reissued and remastered of course by, who will it be, James Guthrie, Joel Plant and Bernie Grundman. It's funny, I was talking to a close friend of mine about my record collecting not too long ago when I was saying, oh, I'm building up my Pink Floyd library. I mean, she's not what I'd call a massive music fan generally, but she said instantly, oh, I like Pink Floyd, make sure you get Relics. You know, I think I told her I'd recently bought Dark Side of the Moon, but I've not really said what else I'd got. But she said right away, oh, make sure you get Relics, it's great. And I always intended to get it, I just got it a bit sooner than later because this and the next one I'll show you, I think we're both $18.99 at W.H. Smith. And free postage of course because the order was over £30. This was originally a budget release in the early 70s for Pink Floyd. It's gone down as really their first official compilation. It's got a bit of stuff that I already own on other albums, but it's also got singles that never came out on albums and 1 or 2 B-sides as well. As with a lot of Pink Floyd compilations, it's a bit of a hodgepodge really. It doesn't sort of conform to any uniform sort of greatest hits standard or anything. The artwork's nice and eye-catching. I think that was actually by Nick Mason, the Pink Floyd drummer. Not an awful lot to say about this really, other than my friend who, if she's watching, she'll know who I'm talking about. I did take your advice, I said I would sooner or later. Relics from Pink Floyd. So I said I bought 2 Pink Floyd albums. Here's the other one. Yet again, I mean, I was always going to get this. I've just kind of jumped further along the Pink Floyd timeline really, more to the, what will this be, mid-70s. I think 1975 did this come out? I'm doing it again, aren't I? You'll see on screen in a sec. It's Wish You Were Here. So a studio album, of course, markedly different cover than the original Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here cover. But this one again in the remaster series, follow-up to Dark Side of the Moon. A well-received album. I don't think it gets quite the love that Dark Side of the Moon gets, and Animals came a couple of years or so after this. I do really like Animals actually, it's one of my favourite Pink Floyd albums. I must have heard Wish You Were Here in full because I'm certain this was one my dad owned back when I was younger. Of course it features parts 1 to 5 and parts 6 to 9 of Shine On You Crazy Diamond and the beautiful Wish You Were Here, among others. Nothing to see on the back whatsoever there. So that's all I can say really. 2 more Pink Floyd albums for the collection. Wish You Were Here and Relics of course. As I said, I jumped ahead a bit. I was intending to get some more of the early 70s studio albums. I won't go into them now because you'll no doubt be seeing them on the channel eventually. But long-time Floyd fans and fanatical Pink Floyd fanboys and girls will of course know which albums I'm referring to that come after Gumma, which was late 69. Really happy. 2 more for the Pink Floyd collection. I'm slowly getting that, well, I get completed as such. I will get all the studio albums certainly, but it's the compilations and live stuff. Some of it I'm getting and some of it I'm not sure if I'll bother, but there we are.
put on a gown that touches the ground. Float on a river forever and ever, Emily, Emily. There is no other day. Let's try it another way. You'll lose your mind and play.
Move on now to two more pickups from Juno Records, which has got to be my favourite website for buying records at the moment. I did mention in Records Roundup 26 about a couple of Italo disco albums, compilations from the German label ZYX Music that I picked up last time, and I just said because of the great prices of each and the wide range in this ZYX series, I'm thinking I'm going to have to get at least a couple more. Well, of course, I did do that pretty soon afterwards. And here is the first one. Greatest hits and remixes from Ken Laszlo. So, as you can see, it's got this I Love Italo Disco. I don't know if you call that a hype sticker as such, but it's a sticker regardless. Ken Laszlo is an artist in the Italo disco field. Like pretty much all the others he started, it was either the very late 70s or early 80s. But it was one I was a little familiar with, but not altogether. I hadn't really heard much of his stuff. With this album and the next one I'll show you, I was able to stream clips of this album. Loved it. I think his big hits, he might have had a few hits in Europe actually. The one that caught my eye, and hopefully I'll be playing a clip of it in a moment, was Hey Hey Guy. But it's an 8-track album, 4 tracks on each side. Look like they're extended versions and mixes as well, which is quite nice. Hey Hey Guys, track number 3. I haven't listened to it yet, as you can probably tell it is new and sealed. I'm not going to get this open, it's black vinyl, it'll look very similar to any other black record that I've shown. A good price, 15-16ish pound at Juno for the greatest hits and remixes of Ken Laszlo.
Let me know what you are doing tonight. You love me, but sorry, don't love you. Let me know what you are doing tonight. Full of love and shine, shine through my life. In your eyes, my travel, I forget this right.
So from Ken Laszlo to another Italo artist who I was completely unfamiliar with. I'd never heard of him. And then I was searching, it was either the Italo Disco tag or the ZYX tag on Juno. This artist came up. It's another one in the greatest hits and remixes range. This one is P. Lion. They'd released a lot in this, and some artists have got a volume 2 of the greatest hits and remixes as well. I may end up splurging on even more from artists I've already collected, like Savage for instance, who I showed last time. He's got a volume 2 in this range for one. But P. Lion, another Italian guy, sounds like he's got quite an interesting sort of family history and a backstory, but I didn't look too far into that. It's the music that I'm interested in. He had a big hit across Europe in the 80s with Happy Children. Once again, streamed a little bit of this on Juno's media player. Loved it. I think here it's a mixture of kind of like 7-inch and 12-inch versions, this. And there's a mega mix as well that's at the end. The, what does that say? Fleming Dallon mega mix. I don't know if Fleming Dallon is the producer or if that means something else. I don't know, but you can't really say an awful lot about these. They're not exactly high-end products as far as vinyl records are concerned, but they're cheap, and it's an amazing way to get quite an obscure genre into your music collection. By the way, a lot of these albums also come out on CD, so if you're predominantly a CD collector, then many of these that I've shown from Juno and from the ZYX label are out on compact disc. But P. Lion, thought I'd give this a try, bit of a punt, but it's such an underrated genre, Italo. I could get really evangelical about it, to be honest. but I urge people who are still a bit kind of either on the fence or have just ignored me and were like, well, what's that? Check it out. Some absolutely amazing pop music. It really sort of bridged the gap between normal disco of the mid to late 70s, which for the most part I'm not too keen on, and then your sort of high energy / Euro dance that came along more toward the late 80s. Italo disco's kind of like the stuff in the middle, really, and for me it's some of the best music out there. Well, that's P Lion, greatest hits and remixes. And finally, a mail opening to do. Wow, we're getting through this pretty quick. Brand new release, arrived today. It's actually, as the day of me filming this, the day before its official release date, which does happen occasionally. And it's always nice to get something that's actually not going to be in shops for at least another 24 hours. This is an order from Mute Bank. This was announced January or maybe even late December. And I've had it on pre-order ever since I saw it announced, and it feels like a while ago. Oh, nice. This is a group from Oldham, near Manchester. I know Rob Walker, a prominent YouTube vinyl community member. He is a big fan of this group, and he went to school with one of their members as well. I don't know if it was the drummer who was in there in the early days. Rob will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, no doubt. They had their first 4 studio albums get reissued via Mute and BMG, I think it is, quite recently on coloured vinyl. I bought all them, loved them. Just a really exciting way to start that collection off, really, as there was songs on their singles that I'd loved for many, many years. And now Greatest Hits compilations come out, the first Greatest Hits from them in quite some time, and it's the complete singles of Inspiral Carpets. Nice hype there. It makes me laugh, actually, how this was advertised. On the website it said this is on 2-disc Midnight Licorice vinyl, which is just like kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of trying to hype up black vinyl. I'm not going to get this open, see if there's any difference, because it's black vinyl, it's just Midnight Licorice, you know. Yeah, we get it. It's got all their singles from, well, or at least the vast majority, I think it's probably all of them, from 1988 to 2015. So much on here that I love. I'll have a lot of this already because, as I say, when the studio albums got reissued last year, I did pick all those up. I just thought this was a nice set to have as well for the collection. 180 gram heavyweight vinyl as well, by the way. I do like the back of this, as you can see, a lot of the original single covers there. I'm not going to bang on about the Inspiral Carpets because I could do that for a long time. I just think they're really good. And I think underrated act as well. When you think of Manchester and even the early days of Britpop, really, I think Inspiral Carpets, once you get past the long-told story that Noel Gallagher was once their roadie, people seem to sort of forget about them and forget just how brilliant they were. And they released 4 really strong albums, all quite soon after one another as well. I think within the space of about a 5 or 6 year period. I've loved them ever since I was 10 years old, really. And as soon as I saw that this was coming out, then I had to have it. There was a chance to win, I think, a signed canvas from Clint Boone if you pre-ordered at Mute Bank, I'm assuming, because nothing else seemed to come in the mailer. I've chucked it over there. I probably should have checked the invoice just in case, but I'll do that after I've finished filming, but I don't think I've won that. Inspiral Carpets, the one yet, would you say? I don't know. Plenty to show you. I think 5's a nice amount. I think a minimum of 4 is my lowest, what I've shown on Records Roundup, but sometimes when it's been a low number, I've had loads to talk about, where I don't really need to talk about Pink Floyd loads. Everyone knows who Pink Floyd are. Inspiral Carpets, I've covered them quite extensively in recent months. And Italo Disco, I mean, for me, that's the most exciting part of my record collecting journey at the moment, is just finding these inexpensive and addictive Italo albums over on Juno particularly, and they are for sale elsewhere in Europe, but Juno's a really good place to pick them up here within the UK. So thank you all for watching. I want to say special thanks to all of my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now. Lots to listen to, as there always is. Always have a bit of a backlog really when I'm saving up these records that come in the mail for Records Roundup. No Doubt Records Roundup 28. Wow, we're nearly at 30 already. Bloody hell. No doubt that'll be coming up sooner rather than later, as will lots of other interesting music related stuff on my channel. I'm really trying to pump out the content and do slightly different things maybe to the norm. Records Roundup is a series that I love because I just love to be able to share my collecting in records and CDs and occasionally mini disc and cassette as well with you all here on YouTube. And I do hope that all of you will join me again next time for my next music collecting, record collecting and Records Roundup video. Cheers everyone. See ya!